Okay, folks, we're going to make a start. So thanks for attending today. And for those that are going to watch after, obviously this is going to be posted up on YouTube. Hopefully this session will give you lots of insight in what our judges are going to look for in an entry. And we're also going to be focusing today a little bit on the Canon Young Champion category, which is our free to enter category for young people. This session is for any organisations and any individuals wanting to enter any sustainability awards. But obviously, as we're the Global Good Awards, we're going to tell you a little bit about us. So as far as we're aware, we are the most sustainable awards scheme on the calendar, which I'm proud to say, but I'm hopefully others are going to follow us soon. We are accredited with an awards trust mark, which means, and we are the first in the world to receive the gold standard. Which means that it marks, the mark is to recognise ethical and transparent behaviour and practices to build trust between an award scheme and its entrants. From next month, we'll also be a 1% for the Planet member. So we just signed up for that. So that's going to happen soon. And also, if you enter the Global Good Awards from this year onwards, we'll also be doing something called Buy One, Get One Tree. So you can enter our awards and we will be preserving, not planting. You can look up what the difference is, what the difference in benefit is rather, on the internet, but we'll be protecting one tree every time someone enters. So on to a little bit about our categories. We've got a couple of featured categories. One of the Canon Young Champion we'll be talking about today. We've added waste reduction and minimalisation as well. And we've also got a new COVID Crisis Champions category, which is free to any public sector healthcare service and also free to any other organisation that enters another category. But today we're going to be talking leadership, and both for adults and young people. So the individual leadership category and also the free Canon Young Champion of the Year. So before I come to our judges, I'm going to explain roughly how it will work. The judges will give you a little intro, why they're on this call particularly, or why they're in this session. And then they're going to tell us a little bit about what impresses them in an entry for these categories, and one thing that would particularly mark you down if they saw it in their in the entry. Then it's over to you guys to drive the session. So I hope you've come armed with questions. Please make sure if you haven't got any questions right now, come up with a few, because it really is driven by you. So there are no silly questions, just ask anything you like. If you've got a confidential question, please ask it in the Q&As and just put it under anonymous. But if it's an open question, please just pop it in the chat under panelists and attendees, and I will direct the judges to answer that directly on live. It is being recorded, so if you don't make notes or anything, you can pick it up after. So today we have got 3 judges with us. We've got Adam Pensotti from Canon. He heads up the Canon Young People Programme, and also is the sponsor of our Young Champion of the Year category. Dave Hampton, returning for the 6th year running on the judging panel, Global Good Ambassador and his oodles of experience in leadership. And Louise Erskine from Career Volunteer, and she's 3rd year running on the judging panel. So welcome everybody. So Adam, can I start with you, and then I'll jump back in and add anything about the Canon Young Champion category.
Sure. So I'll just give you the quick intro to me. I'm Adam Pensotti. I do have a broken nose, by the way, which I broke in lockdown number 1, and I was waiting until 2 weeks ago to get it straightened. Hopefully underneath this, there's a beautiful straight nose. I haven't seen it yet. So I work at Canon, and I look after our Canon Young People Programme. This is basically a programme run across Europe, Middle East and Africa, where we give young people a voice to create a better and more sustainable future for all of us. And we do that by introducing people to the power of visual storytelling. I work closely with the United Nations, and we align the programme to the UN's 2030 SDGs. But we encourage the young people to really creatively express themselves about the issues that are important to them. And then we work to amplify that, what they care about, at every single platform we have and that the UN has. So it's a very positive program, and it's an absolute privilege to work there. I think I'm a judge here because I value the bright ideas of young people fundamentally, and I want to celebrate and encourage those. One thing to look for in entries, I think every single entry is different. But the question I ask myself, I think every time is this entry going to change lives? Is it going to make the world a better place for all of us, no matter the scale, big or small? I think that's really, really key to me. And that's the first question I ask myself. What doesn't impress? Well, this is only the second year of sponsorship with the Global Good. And so far, I haven't seen anything that doesn't impress me, not from a single entry. I think all of them that I've seen so far are really, really good. But I think individual ownership is absolutely key. I think we are celebrating and supporting the individual and their initiative. And I want to see that developed in the entry. And that's really important. That's got to come through. I hope that's helpful, and happy to answer any more questions you may have further on.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, guys, if you've got any questions, just ask them straight away. Don't wait until the question section. Start them flowing, and then we can answer them as we go along. So yeah, just to finish off on that young champion, it is free to enter for everybody. And it's not just the entrant themselves that needs to enter. Obviously, they can do if they're over 18, but we are looking for nominations as well through corporations. They might be an ambassador for a particular cause. They might be a supporter of a charity. They might be a teacher, a guardian, or a parent. So you can anybody can enter a particular young person. It doesn't have to be the individual themselves. And it can be a group of young people too. We had one last year, one of our finalists, which was Eco Emeralds. There was 9 young people from Liverpool. You may have even seen them on the TV. Yeah, so you can have a group of people, as long as they are actively championing change in a particular area. That's absolutely fine, as long as they come under one collective. And it's also, it's not just environmental. You know, we're looking for people that are championing change across all aspects: mental health, well-being, cyberbullying, anything to do with change across all social environmental activity. So that's just a little bit more about the young champion. So let's come on to Louise now.
Thanks, Karen. Hi, everybody. My name is Louise Erskine, and as Karen says, this is my 3rd year on the judging panel, but have been involved in one way or another since the outset of the awards. I run a very small consultancy advising companies big and small on environmental and social programs, both looking at strategy and actually running initiatives for those companies as well. I'm a trustee of an international environmental charity as well, quite a long-standing trustee. And I've been in and around this sector and international NGOs, the charity sector, for around 15 to 20 years. So hopefully that qualifies me to have some insight as to what good programs look like. The thing that really grabs me when I'm reading entries are the ones that have made an effort to ask themselves, and so what? What does that mean? And have really evidenced not just the outputs and the numbers and the data, but actually what does that mean for people and the environment? What are the outcomes of those? So even if you don't have all the information, being able to just ask that question, and so what? And hopefully be able to at least show some anecdotal evidence of what that means as well. What puts me off instantly is when I can't see a real genuine lack of partnership in something. And if I see entries occasionally, and this is very occasionally, that are perhaps just funded by one arm and actually it's somebody else delivering all of the work, and there's not a real collaborative relationship in there, because I think the only way that we can effect real change and positive impact is through collaborative working and all stakeholders coming together to do that as well.
Thanks, Louise. I lost my mute button. Yeah, that is really important, that last bit. As you say, you know, you can't expect people to really grasp what they're doing. You know, just throwing money at something and then just letting someone else get on with it is, yeah, it's not the way it's going to help. So Dave, let's come over to you.
Thanks, Karen. Hello, everybody. I'm glad I went third. I'm glad I fell third. And yeah, very kind to say I've got oodles of experience of leadership, and I wanted to pick up on that thread to deny it, but also it fascinates me because leadership ain't what leadership is taught. If it was, it wouldn't be leadership. So I think reinventing leadership is a theme for me. In terms of me, I've won lots of leadership awards, which is nice, and I've sat on lots of panels for a long time. But the Global Good Awards are just by far the best awards, and there's something really special and different about them. And this is the best category as well, the leadership categories. So Karen's giving me the thumbs up. So, and I mean it. I mean it. It's something profoundly different about a bunch of guys in black ties eating meat at a sustainability awards, and the way Global Good Awards are run, which is radically different and walk the talk. But enough of that. What else about me? I gave up a professional promising career in 2005 to become the carbon coach. So I've got a kind of natural eye out for things that affect sustainability and climate change in particular, but hopefully just as excited by all the other aspects of leadership that Karen mentioned. What I'm looking out for, like I say, yeah, leadership isn't what management schools say it is, because that's old leadership. New leadership is emerging all the time. It's emerging in the youth movements. It's emerging in politics. It's emerging very rapidly, and it has to. I suppose the other thing I look for is, as well as silencing my dog before important calls, is making leadership personal, not professional. I think if it's your job to lead, then maybe that's not leadership. If you're paid to lead, I appreciate that's going to be a little bit controversial, but I think I wouldn't be shy about mentioning the personal circumstances that go with your leadership bid and your statement. And things I mark down. I mark down if it all looks too easy. I think I've already hinted at that, but you know, if you're funded, if it's leadership is just really nice for you and you're getting lots of publicity, then maybe that isn't leadership. Controversial, I hope, just to get some questions going.
Dave, can I pick up on, you said new leadership? Talk to me more about new leadership. How do you define new leadership?
Yeah, time to think. Plus, my dog has started to howl, so you might wish you didn't ask that. We have a poorly cat who's gone to the vet, so I'm supervising the dog right now. Leadership, new leadership, I suppose, is I'll say it. I'll touch on it. I certainly wouldn't mark down any entry that had elements of activism. If you've got connections with Extinction Rebellion, you're within the law. You know, it's non-direct. What's the word? NDVA. I think just breaking the rules is part of leadership. But clearly Karen would get very anxious if I was encouraging too much of that.
I don't think so, not anymore. Anyone, Louise, Adam, you got any comments to add at the moment?
No, I think that's really put. I would like Dave to explain to me more about new leadership. I find that very intriguing.
Good. Louise, anything at the moment?
Yeah, likewise. I'd love to be able to read some entries that had a good element of activism in them as well. How refreshing that would be.
I think our silver place in 2020, Richard Walker from Iceland. I think he's got an element of activism about him. I think he's really leading a lot of things, and he does a lot of stuff on the ground, supporting on a social and environmental level. And so he's I would kind of put him in that category a little bit. So yeah. So guys, we haven't got any questions yet, so please fly them over if you've got any. But I'm just going to sort of pick up on a few things that got picked up on our last couple of Ask the Judges. A couple of our judges said at the beginning of an entry they need to have their attention drawn straight away. So those first couple of paragraphs are so key. What are you going to do to keep the attention of those judges? If you want them to keep reading with interest, those first couple of paragraphs are key, and keeping it really clear and easy to read. don't assume that a judge might have experience in that particular area, for example, climate action or leadership, but they might not have knowledge of your particular sector. So keep it clean, keep it clear, keep it clean as well, please. Keep it clear. So just make sure it's just easy to read, not PR spin, not jargon. And leading on to that, don't allow your PR and marketing departments to hijack your entry. It needs to come with heart. It needs to come with from the person, the person or the team that's driven that activity. If it's given to the PR of marketing, often it does come back just with that emotion taken away. So just make sure you don't allow that emotion to come out. What else can we say? So statistics, they're key, but don't get overwhelmed by lots of statistics. But if there are key ones, make sure they're not drowned out in a 60-page document in the supporting documents. Make sure they are front and foremost in the actual application form.
Can I jump in there, Karen, just to add something to that on statistics, because I have seen a few entries as well who might have really, really great looking statistics, but they put no baseline in. And I think it's just an oversight. People forget to say, well, where did I start? So then we can read statistics and think, that sounds great. From what? So again, it's just questioning yourself and saying, am I giving somebody who doesn't know this inside out and isn't that close to it, who can look at it coming from nothing, a totally objective viewpoint, and understand what I'm trying to say instantly.
And baseline being the actual statistic and the year, probably not just the stats. But and I think this is applicable to all categories as well. Please make sure you check the criteria, you read the description, you read it before you enter, you read it during your entry, and you read it at the end before you submit, just to make sure that you've focused on those criteria points. And some of the criteria points, not for the Canon one, it's 50-50 across imaging and wordage. But for other categories, you've got some that are for like outcome and output, that's going to be 40%. Some are going to be 15%. So make sure you use your wording, your stats, and all your detail according to how much percentage per criteria point. If any judges has got anything to add, just stick your hand up or interrupt me, because I'm obviously just going over some of the previous content. So I've now got a problem. Life in lockdown, eh? Right.
I feel much better.
She has a habit now of actually sitting on my desk a lot more often, which is really starting to annoy me. And then I shout at her and she doesn't like it. Go on, Dave.
Yeah, thank you. The dog's calmed down now, but I had something to add when you were describing, Karen, about who could enter. And I love the idea that other people might be the person to enter you. It's cheesy really, but the entries where you enter yourself, you're possibly not the right person to win. You might be. Having said that, we've had such strong candidates last year that there's a bit of me that doesn't want you to encourage someone to enter someone that perhaps doesn't have any hope of actually winning. But then again, just a nomination could be really life-changing for someone. So, and also kind of reverse nomination. In the past, it was the professor whose name went on an academic paper, but how about nominating the caretaker or someone that did something that was significant in achieving the outcome, rather than it all going into the old hierarchy. That was one thought, and just how much fun you could have nominating people that didn't even know that they were being nominated. So
yeah, we do have a mixture on individual leadership. Some people enter themselves, but majority of the time it's entered by someone else in their team or their boss, whatever. So it's it can be a bit of a mixture. But yeah, I think an entry that's written by someone that's not that person is a much stronger entry, unless they're good about writing about themselves, which I certainly wouldn't be. So yeah. No questions, guys. You're not doing very well with the questions so far. Maybe we've just answered everything, but yeah. I think one of the things that judges looked for from one of the last sessions was making sure that there's some kind of sharing of best practice. Don't just tell us what you're doing. Share how you're doing it, how you've achieved it. Just make sure that it's something that can hold up as an example to others, which I think is key. Don't blow your word count. That's a really critical one for judges. If judges are reading up to 20 entries in some of these categories, please don't blow your word count. You've got a word count to stick to that's on there. Don't go over the 10%. Otherwise, you need to really drill it down, be concise, and focus on keeping it tight. So yeah, cool. Good. And answer the questions. I know I've mentioned talking about reading the criteria in the description, but please make sure you answer the questions. People do get carried away a little bit when they're writing, especially if they're writing about themselves. They actually miss what we're asking for, which will hideously reduce your scores. So it's important, very important that you stick to that and check again before you submit.
Just to add on that as well, is pay attention to the weighting next to each of those questions.
Yes, because the percentages.
Yeah, because sometimes people can put an awful lot of effort into something that maybe only makes up 5 or 10% of what we're going to look like, and you might score really highly on that, but it all has to fit together.
Yeah, I mean, getting a 7 out of 10 for something that scores 40% of the marks is a lot better than getting 9, 10 out of 10 for something that's 15%. So just make sure that you put the effort into each of those, the criteria, the weighting. One interesting one that came up was turnover dilemma. Don't be embarrassed to put your turnover and the fact that you're a profit-making business. At the end of the day, sustainability is only going to succeed if it's profitable. So don't be embarrassed about putting that kind of statistics in. Adam, should we talk a little bit more about the Young Champion and what talk to me about the weighting, because we've obviously got 50-50. What are you looking for in photos and in the story?
Sure, I was just thinking about that as well, and the photographs, because obviously being Canon, everybody thinks that I noticed on the entries last year, there was either a real focus on photography, or there wasn't much of a focus. And actually, I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle. The best entry would be using photography, using video as part of your entry. You're effectively telling me a story. You're telling me a story about your initiative, about your great idea. You want me to know more about it. You want me to understand more about it. And I think that's where the photography element comes in. Video and photography is fantastic at expanding on a story. You can get a photograph that's worth 1,000 words, but unfortunately in this competition, the points are more evenly spread between photography and the actual words. So you would need to, going back to Louise's point, you would need to fill in all of those different elements to get that full weighting across the whole entry. I don't want to see the world's greatest photographs and a rather light written entry or light idea. I would much rather see a great idea that is exemplified with the words and the video. Whatever you shoot your video and your stills on, doesn't matter. I don't think it doesn't matter particularly to me. It's more important what the idea is and how you are bringing it to the world. And could it go bigger? Could it become an idea that goes from a village perhaps to a town, to a city, to a country? Is it the sort of idea that could roll out on across a bigger framework? So these are all aspects, I think. Just to give you a little indication of what I got last year, I got entries from people from, as you mentioned, Karen, from Eco Emeralds, a primary school, who from 9 years old, and I got entries from people who were 20 as well. So it was quite a very broad approach, lots of different entries, really they were all so good. And this is what really surprised me, is the average standard of entry was high. They were all great ideas, and they were just being explained in different ways. Some of them were absolutely tiny, a small group of people, perhaps, who were trying to make a difference. Some of them were very big, one person who had been traveling around the world trying to make a difference. So I think everything is valid. I think if I was on the outside, I would have a go, because you have no idea who the competition is going to be, and you all stand a chance. So I hope that's useful. Karen, what did you think about our entries last year? Because it was our first year, wasn't it? So I think what we would encourage, I know what came out, I'm asking you a question, answering it myself. I'm just going to say, I think from my point of view, I'd like to see more entries from a broader cross-section of countries. This is not just a UK awards. From my point of view, I look after Europe, Middle East and Africa as a region, but I'm interested in the world. So I would like to see great ideas from all over the world. And I think from your point of view, Karen, that's a key consideration. Global good, kind of in the title, isn't it?
Well, I'm glad you answered that question, because as you probably know, as the organizer, I don't read the entries. I feel that I would become biased if I read the entries, so therefore I only read anything that I need to support the entrants. But yeah, so we are putting together a toolkit. So if any organisations are interested in supporting, pushing out comms to attract those young talent, we've got some information to roll out in the next week or so that will go across Instagram and, dare I say, TikTok. I always thought that the moment I use TikTok in my business, I would retire, but it looks like I'm going to have to bend my own rules. Yeah, so we'll be rolling that out. So if anyone on the call is interested in receiving that information for their own organisation, to to push out some information, if they've got a wide reach of young people, then please do let me know.
Yeah.
Louise, Dave, have you got anything to add?
Yeah, I'm just thrilled that cameras, photography, video is at the heart of the award, because I think maybe, having had time to think about it, new leadership is a moment as much as it is an attribute. It's what you do in a split second, and if that can be captured on TikTok, or what is TikTok? I'm kidding, but if it kind of primes all of us to have our cameras ready for someone in a board meeting who walks out, or recently there was one that went viral for different reasons, but just to capture those little moments of life-changing significance, which, if you put it in a paragraph, I gave a very important speech outside Parliament. It's much better if we can just see the vid. So
is this where I have to say I'm kicking him out? I'm kicking him out.
The chairman, you have an authority.
Oh, that was quite funny. Good. So yeah, if we've got no questions, which is a bit bizarre for Ask the Judges, we've got a couple more sessions coming up. So we're halfway through. We've got quite a big one coming up on Thursday for community partnerships and education. That's always one that's both popular categories. I'm sure there'll be lots of questions for that one. And in the afternoon, we've got Global Good SME of the Year and Startup. That's going to be another key one. Got quite a few people booked for both of those. And then the final one is Friday, which is Employee Engagement and Wellbeing, Environmental Behaviour Change and Best Campaign. And there are a lot of crossovers and confusion about the difference between behaviour change and campaigns. So if you're interested in any of those categories, please make sure that you come on the call. So any, I think we'll wrap up then. Any closing words, anyone? Adam, you've unmuted.
I only unmuted because I've got a question for you, actually, Karen, that maybe anyone listening may be useful. If anyone did have a question and perhaps didn't want to ask it right now, I'm perfectly happy to answer a question at any point. But would you? I guess you'd prefer they came through you, emailed you, contacted Global Good, and then you pass them on.
Everyone that's on the call knows that I'm here. They've all got emails from me, so they know how to get hold of me. But it's karen@globalgoodcomms.co.uk. So.
And you can then drive that answer out of us, can't you?
If I need an answering from you, yes, I can.
Perfect. More than happy to help.
Louise, anything? Closing words?
Probably just tell a good story. Sometimes we do read a lot of entries, and sometimes they're quite long. So a good compelling story is a really good way to keep us engaged and entertained and start to absorb a lot of that more meaningful evidence that you're putting into your application as well. So yeah, entertain.
Entertain. Good one. Dave.
Yeah, I love it. Same thing really, but as you said, Karen, as well, come with heart. Don't take the heart out of the entry, because you won't win.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's a good place to close. So thank you, judges, for coming on. As you know, it will be this has been recorded, so it will be up on the website for you to view later and to share. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you for the next one on Thursday. Cheers.
Thank you, Karen.
Good luck.
Thank you. Bye.